Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. So pumped to be here with you guys today. Cody Carpentier will be joining us here shortly. He is right now at Commander's Camp, so we guess we'll get a little update from him about how Jaden Daniels and some of these guys are looking. But of course, we have to start out by talking about Texas football coming out of a big scrimmage weekend. We just had Coach Sark on a Zoom conference. Apparently, there's a big activity up at the Moody Center where it was taking up all the parking. So the media got to sit on their couches at home and call into the Zoom meeting. So I was able to kind of take that in. Some kind of interesting things Sark said. So basically, today Texas had a walk-through practice coming out of Saturday's scrimmage. They're going to ramp it up through the rest of the week, and obviously, it's a big week for Texas football because from what Sark has said, they're not quite into game prep yet, right? They're not quite into the stuff and I think, it's probably the type of week where they're probably starting to look at some other things that other teams might be doing, some things that they've already seen, like the Georgias of the world or the Michigans of the world, things they're preparing for that, and teaching some concepts and some techniques that could be helpful in that kind of situation. But as far as just getting ready for Colorado State, they're not doing that stuff yet. So this is still right now moving week. He was talking about how they are rotating a whole lot of players with the ones and the twos. Which he said wasn't the same as last year. And of course, that's not the same as last year, especially at the wide receivers, right? Very clear that last year you have Xavier Worthy, you have Adonai Mitchell, you have Jordan Whittington, who, by the way, Jordan Whittington, did you guys see him in the preseason? The Rams targeted him 9 times. He caught 6 or 7 balls. Whittington's not just going to make that team. He's actually going to play, and he's going to play on offense, not just special teams. Very, 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 very cool stuff. I see some of you guys starting to come in the chat. Cody normally puts this thing on. Let me see if I can get this overlay here. So your chat message will show up over there. Thanks again to everybody for being here. Oh gosh, almost 100 of you guys already in the Specs chat right off the bat. Like an old football with friends today, right? Except I don't have Blake. I don't have Blake to yell at. But yeah, dude, if you guys have questions, feel free to interact there. Certainly, super chats are definitely welcome, and those will go right to the top. But yeah, what Sark was saying. So last year, there was ones and there was twos and stuff. And I think this goes along with look, there's still ones and twos. Who is the one and who is the number two, and that stuff. That's Cody made the title of the show today. Whether it's what did he say? Whether it's Cook or whether it's Wingo, I don't think that it's either of those guys. But Cody and I'll talk about that whenever we get into that portion of it. As far as the press conference, what he's saying, and he answered another person too, saying, dude, the way that this season is going to pan out for these Longhorns, they're not looking at a starting 22. They're looking at a starting 44. They're looking at it from a 2-deep perspective. And that makes a lot of sense, man. As far as I know, you guys have probably heard a whole lot about the scrimmage, since Saturday. I know that Catch and Onwar, they came on and did the the post-scrimmage stuff. And there was a lot of info from that because there were a lot of people there, a lot of eyeballs on that scrimmage. But there were some very interesting things that happened in that scrimmage. Take Sadir Mitchell, getting some work with the ones. That is completely different and completely new, right? Alex January getting to work in with the ones. That's completely different and that's completely new. Now, Sark did say in his availability today that, whenever he talked about the defensive line, he said that, he's seen really good things out of Vernon Broughton and really good things out of Alfred Collins. And so it isn't like we're looking at a whole new starting group there, but I think it does go to show. It's like, well, for one, about Sadir Mitchell, I've said it here before. He brings a whole different body type than anybody else on this football team. As far as if you're looking for somebody that can physically do something different that's redundant with no other asset on this team, that player is Sadir Mitchell. And we've sort of talked about how he has struggled with conditioning and coming from New Jersey, struggled with homesickness last year and all that stuff. But I really had felt like during the last bit of those open practices that they gave us that Sadir Mitchell was looking like a good player and somebody that was actually kind of buying in, right? So that's encouraging that somebody like him, like, dude, they're working him in with the ones. Is he part of that 44 or that, I guess that 22 on defense? He certainly could be. Would you be surprised at all? Anybody in the chat? And what's up to everybody in the chat? Good to see if you guys have questions here. I'll get to them in 1 second. Would you really be that surprised if like Sadir Mitchell's better than Bill Norton? If he's better than Tio Aliti Savea or these, Jermaine Lole that's been in college for 6 years, and that, it's like I don't think you're really allowed to be surprised, whether it's him or January or any of these guys. There was something else interesting just as I'm sort of, talking through this, and because he said it's not just that starting 44 that we're looking at, right? There's also guys who are going to be, specialized and specialty packages and all this stuff. I'm going to tell you guys about a super cool specialty package that I heard about after the Saturday practice here in a second. But it looks like we have a couple questions. John Brown, serious question. Do we trust this coaching staff to pick the right starters on offense? Examples: Card over Thompson, Baxter over Brooks. Oh, gosh, that's an interesting. I mean, yes, dude. I think that this is yeah. I mean, getting to the college football playoff, putting together this kind of roster, all that stuff. Yes, I think that they deserve your trust. Are there things I look at sometimes that I don't really understand? Sure, but I'm not at practice all the time. And I'm not around these players all the time, and they're not like my surrogate children. It's like to be a coach of these guys is almost kind of like being like a half like dad, half dad, half teacher, half, I guess there's no other halves to add other than that. But yeah, man, I think that you can certainly trust them to make the right decisions. And I'd be curious if I'm trying to think, is there a decision that you on offense that you're unhappy with? I can go through quarterback seems pretty cut and dried. Running back seems, it's in a little bit of a pickle right now. We'll talk about that in a second. Wide receiver. Now, that's a convoluted thing, right? That's a convoluted deal. And Cody and I are going to talk that over, sort of coming out of the scrimmage, going through that walkthrough today, where we're sort of seeing this depth chart shake up as far as the receivers. But if you talk to Sark, it's like, I don't feel like that they've made any. I don't feel like they've made any real depth chart, just decisions. I think when he says they're looking for the best 22 on each side of the football, what he's saying that the most regarding the group that he finally today said it, that there's a core of 6 of them. So like we've been saying the whole time, he was saying we got 9 of these. Kyle Flood says we got 9 of these dudes who are going to play, and Sark says at SEC Media Days we got 7 of these wide receivers who are going to play, and we're kind of counting them up. We're like, okay, Bolden, Golden, Isaiah Bond, Johntay Cook, Ryan Wingo, and DeAndre Moore. Right? There's 6. Right? So who's the 7th? What is it, like Niblet? Something like this. I think today, whenever he said that, it was kind of interesting. But I don't think decisions have been made there. I think what's going on at tight end is fine. Sark talked about today the fact that it looks like there's, in what had been open to us, it was Juan Davis and Gunnar Helm always with the first group, and Amari Niblack always with the second group. And then it's weird because last week Amari Niblack gets put on the John Mackey Award watch list, and there's like Gunnar Helm's not on that thing, and neither is Juan Davis. And I heard from the scrimmage that I said, so is Amari Niblack still practicing behind like Juan Davis and Gunnar Helm and stuff? This dude was like, dude, he's like, he laughed. He's like, that guy's a starter. So there are things that happen behind the scenes that we're probably not completely aware of. And I get what he was saying about, the whole thing about CJ Baxter last year. That's probably at least whatever it was, they realized real soon that Brooks was a better runner, and they really got him going. I think some of the decisions they're having to make right now are a little bit tougher, but the offensive line is just chalk. It's like super easy. Those are the right decisions that they've made with the first group and with the second group. Maybe with the second group, you wonder about I don't know. I think it's fine to have Andre Kojo over Brandon Baker. If Baker's a freshman, it's seeming more and more to me that he could be more of a developmental guy than just one of these 5 stars that just comes in and plays. Like, certainly he's different than a Kelvin Banks or something, right? But Look at Cam Williams, 2 years of kind of, a little bit of playing time, kind of dabbled in there, but by the third year, he's ready to go. Maybe Brandon Baker's on that same sort of path. But so that's all the positions, and I don't have any issues with them, and I don't think that you should be worried about that at all. We'll talk about this new package, dude. This new package is called NASCAR. Can you believe this? Somebody said when I wrote this up on the website, like there's like, dude, we've been in the SEC for like a month and we're already naming a package NASCAR. It's so good, but it's true, and it is dude. It sounds awesome to me. It's so here's what it was, and this was actually a defensive package where Anthony Hill had his sack during the scrimmage. I heard from somebody that Ant Hill probably should have had 2 sacks because there was one where he was kind of, he kind of had he. How in scrimmages, like you're not allowed to touch the quarterback anyway, but there was one where he kind of touched him and he, they whistled the quarterback dead. And there was another one where he like ran right by him and kind of, yelled at him and got his hands up. It would have been a sack, but regardless, one of the 2 sacks for Ant Hill came out of this package. This was, so up front, it was Alfred Collins in the middle. Ethan Burke, it's like a 3 technique or like a 4-eye kind of. So Ethan Burke inside, right? You had Trey Moore at his regular edge spot, and then you have Colin Simmons as like a linebacker, Sam linebacker that's aligned on the line of scrimmage, coming off the edge with the speed package with the linebacker. So Anthony Hill, and instead of Benda, Maurice Blackwell. And I just thought about that thing and thought about the amount of speed that they had there. And I was just like, dude, what they're doing with it is they're using a whole lot of stunts, right? And they can drop Moore and Simmons into coverage. They can zone blitz Hill. They can get Simmons isolated on those inside twists, right? I guess it would be up A gap. Yeah, it would be like an inside blitz, up A gap, right towards the quarterback, like we'd seen him do back in high school. And this is the kind of thing where, this is the kind of deal where when, Colin Simmons, the plan with him, at least I've heard, I don't know, but I think this is probably what the plan is. And they've never told me, no one's ever told me differently who would have knowledge of this. But what one person said was that we're looking at him to have I'm just like, man, is he going to start day one? And the guy's like, hey, we're looking at him to have more like a Anthony Hill style rollout, right? And if you guys will remember, Anthony Hill didn't start out last year. He didn't start out last season as a dude who was, he wasn't a starter. Like he wasn't starting. It wasn't until after the Alabama game and then a few more games later where he was like, he was on the field all the time, right? I can look back at the deep dig and just show you. It's like the difference in the amount of snaps that Anthony Hill played versus what Jalen Ford played. I mean, it's enough to tell, like, these two did not play similar levels throughout the course of the season, even though very well by the end of the season, Anthony Hill was playing every snap that Jalen Ford played. Those guys didn't rotate out, right? But Jalen Ford last year, 668 snaps on defense during the regular season, whereas Anthony Hill only played 429. So it took him a little bit of a while to get ramped up. And I'm not, look, the issue is with Colin Simmons is that Trey Moore is going to be there to sort of, block his, any kind of ascent to probably him becoming an Anthony Hill type of contributor, right? Because the fact of the matter is Anthony Hill didn't have that kind of presence ahead of him on the depth chart last year. But look, man, this whole thing, Justice Finkley being ahead of Colin Simmons, backing up Trey Moore, that feels like it's something that's sort of in name only. And because here's the thing, if Justice Finkley did bring something that Colin Simmons was incapable of bringing, they wouldn't have this awesome package that they call NASCAR, which to me just sounds so cool. I don't know why. Why wouldn't Finkley be in on that package? Well, he doesn't have the get off that Colin Simmons does. He doesn't have the natural lateral agility he does. He doesn't have the movement skills. He doesn't have the closing speed. He doesn't have the ankle flexion. He doesn't have the hip flexion. He doesn't have the same bend. These are things that are very obvious to people when you look at the profiles of these two players. So I think with Simmons, what we're going to see is we're going to see a season here where he goes through it, and he's used in this situational role, this NASCAR package. Um, Sort of maybe, and then maybe starts to spell Trey Moore, right? Because you know how it is with these edge guys, man. A lot of the best edge guys in the whole NFL, they come in their spots, and the coaches know when their good spots are, and they're much, much, much more effective whenever. I mean, I hate to say when they're utilized situationally, because I don't want to say either of these guys would be a sub package player, but just utilized in the types of downs and distances, or versus the type of personnel that these coaches have identified that they flourish against. And so I think that with Simmons, this is just the way to say, like, dude, right off the bat, just going back to our recruiting promises for you. This is, we're going to have this package, and you're going to be heavily involved in it and all that stuff. But man, considering the fact that they ran it in the scrimmage, and that they were able to, get pressure on the quarterback with this kind of deal, just very, very cool. Very, very, very cool. So that's the new personnel package. Last night there was a giant package of Wagyu beef at my neighbor's house, and he got it all at Texas Beef Traders. Look, my neighbor, he had a pool party last night. It was like a neighborhood pool party. He went to Texas Beef Traders. He got the iron table Wagyu from Gatesville, Texas. Gatesville, kind of up there by Waco, Coryell County. Is somebody in the chat can correct me on that? Maybe by Hamilton and stuff. Dude, it doesn't matter. This Wagyu beef from Texas Beef Traders is amazing. And guess what he put on top of the burgers? Wagyu beef bacon from Texas Beef Traders. Everybody in my neighborhood knows about Texas Beef Traders, because it's the only place that you can go to get awesome local beef that has no antibiotics, has no vaccines, nothing cockamamie, nothing weird. It's just always delicious. You go up there, they'll give you a beer, they'll let you taste the food, man. Go up there on a Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and just go check it out. I went in there on Sunday morning, and the table there was already filled up with people, kind of sampling some food and having some beers, drinking some wines and stuff like that. It's that kind of experience, that kind of environment. But the reason people keep coming back is for the beef. It's cheaper than the grocery store. It's better than the grocery store. It's better for you. It's good, clean protein for you and your family. Make sure you go check out Texas Beef Traders. And dude, you get 10% off by just every time you go in. You get 10% off just by saying, "Hey, man, I watch Alex on Orange Bloods." 10% off. And look, if you can't make it in there, it's right in the heart of Lakeway. If you can't make it into Texas Beef Traders, just go to texasbeeftraders.com. Get your 10% off. Call up Darren, and if you live in Austin, he'll just bring it to you. There's no excuses not to go to Texas Beef Traders. All right, so it looks like Cody's landed. Cody, is that Cody saying? So Cody's just now landed. So who knows if he's going to make it onto the show or not. So Cody just landed. I thought Cody was in Washington D.C. He was at practice only like 3 hours ago. Well, we'll get it figured out here pretty soon. Let's see. There was another question here not a question, but just the cool thing here from South End Zone Queen saying the highest graded rookie wide receiver from preseason week 1, Jordan Whittington. Well, we all know how we feel about cockamamie PFF, dude, but Whittington sure did look awesome. Waves Deep saying, I told Josh Pate to watch out for the Texas defense. A lot of people can't fathom RD being better after losing our defensive tackles. Well, I mean, dude, it's going to be hard. I mean, I think it Waves Deep. It's probably good to realistically set your expectations that this defense might have to take a small step back, because, or maybe that's just my bias towards a defensive line play and, thinking that the defense should be built around a 3 technique. But look, if they are better, it's going to have to be built in a whole new way. Oh, dude. All right. So speaking of that, all right. So on defense, something else, from the scrimmage. So I was asking one dude, I was like, um, so Gilbo's the starter at nickel, right? I mean, that's kind of we've established that. But I was like, was Johntay Barron playing any outside corner? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, he was the first one out there. So, he's like, he's the first one out. He was playing, it was Manny Muhammad and it was Jade Barron out there at the corners. And something now that comes with a caveat because he did say that Gavin Holmes would also kind of work in there at corner. And he would also see in other grouping some stuff with Jade Barron moving back into nickel. And so this dude was like, I don't know what the coaches are going to do, but it looks like they're probably going to play him at both and maybe just figure out ways to deploy the guy. It seems to me, what I'd heard, and so just kind of putting the pebbles, putting the little what are the little breadcrumbs, right? Putting all the breadcrumbs together. It feels like Jade Barron is comfortable being in this role where he's just, he's kind of the starting corner outside there with Manny Muhammad, but it's still kind of like he's rotating his stuff and he might play a little bit of nickel because ultimately he wants to raise his draft stock and he thinks playing outside corner can do that. And look, I kind of agree with Anwar and catching stuff whenever we've had this conversation internally saying like, yeah, dude, look at the pay structures for the nickel corners in the NFL versus the outside corners, right? It's like the outside corners get paid a whole lot more money. Now, with that being said, I don't think that Jade Barron's skill set is one where we're going to go into the NFL draft season next year and people are going to say like, all right, this is going to be our next lockdown outside corner, right? I think they're probably going to still want him to play nickel because Jade Barron's superpower is his ability just to he blows up screens, man. And you can say what you want about him with the rest of this stuff, man, but like he's a really, really sure tackler on these outside bubble screens to these wide receivers and some of these running backs into the flats. If there's anybody on the team that you want coming downhill and making an open field tackle, it's Jade Barron. He's a very, very, very sure tackler. He takes really good angles. He wraps up. He brings his hips through contact. So I think that's the way he's going to be evaluated. But what it adds on with the whole thing with the outside corner stuff, it's just like an NFL team could be like, yeah, and if we get in a pickle, the guy he can play outside corner too, right? So I'm not sure in the end it's going to make him a whole lot of extra money just from a positional standpoint. If he comes up for a new contract, I don't think he's ever going to get paid like an outside corner. I could be totally wrong. He could play this year and be, I look at him and say like, oh gosh, he has his big upside outside corner is Manny Muhammad, right? But look, I think now we know that this is going to be a conversation we're going to be having because Jade Barron is playing outside corner. So like they kind of tried to hide it from us. I mean, there were too many people at this last practice to keep it hidden. It's like that's kind of what's gonna happen. And I do think it can help him with his draft stock. Even if I say I don't think it's gonna make him a bunch of extra money, I do think it'll help his draft stock if he goes out there and he's good and he's good at it. Right now, what can happen, what cannot happen if you're Jade Barron is for the situation to come up where you lose your job to Jalen Gilbo, and it's not because you moved over to something else, right? And so if they've decided that they want Gilbo there no matter what, then what we're gonna, it kind of puts Jade Barron, puts him not behind the eight ball, but it does put his feet to the flames a little bit to say, well, I got to be good at outside corner now because I can't have it be like, a younger, a player who had been behind me this whole time. Now in my final year of college comes over and takes my job. I'm going to have to answer a whole lot of questions about that in the draft process. So we'll see what happens with it. But I mean, all that is to say, it's like Barron is going to, Barron / Holmes / whatever. And here's the other thing. Before my ADD is terrible without like Cody or Blake or anything to keep me on the rails. But Sark did say today when he was asked about the corners that both Jade and Jalen both look good whenever they move out there. So that's confirmation that Jalen Gilbo has repped at least some at outside corner, which to me was all new. But it would make sense if like people are saying, look, there's times when Jade moves back into nickel. Well, maybe there's some times when those guys just kind of flip. So it'll be interesting to see how those rotations occur. regardless, you talk about Gilbo, and you talk about Barron, and you talk about Manny Muhammad. You talk about the safeties. The safeties that Texas, dude, they lost like Keaton Crawford and Jaron Thompson, and the guy, I mean, almost forgot his name already. Jalen Catalon. Boy, did he turn out to really not return to the form that we saw out of him in his sophomore year at Arkansas. They'd be like, dude, if he can just get back to that, it's like that sure didn't happen. Those guys are the Ryan Watts. Are these big losses to you? These like giant earth-shaking losses? They're not. They've improved at every spot. Oh, here's something interesting. As we're talking about it, Andrew Makuba and Michael Taft were the first safeties this weekend in the scrimmage. They had Derek Williams and Jelani McDonald with the twos. Now, I don't. That doesn't mean anything to me. Gosh, man. Oh my God. We're creeping up to like 500 people in the chat. Thank you guys so much, man, for being here. Oh, I forgot. I need to mention it. We're trying to get to 20K subscribers. So if you guys could please, we're always asking you to like and subscribe, but man, like if you guys can please like and subscribe the show, it's like a big deal for the Orange Bloods channel for us to get up to 20K. So if you guys could, if you're not subscribed yet or whatever, if you're watching this on like X, it would be a huge favor to us for you to go over to the YouTube side and click to subscribe. And while you're there, click like, because it helps the shows. It helps me. It helps Cody. We put a lot of time and thought into these shows. We want to be able to give you content that's gets right into football and not waste your time. We understand that your time is very, very valuable. We do not want to waste it. We want to talk Texas football. No jibber jabber, no chit chat. We'll also talk NFL and draft and stuff, but you understand what I mean. We would certainly appreciate those extra subscribes and those extra likes. Anyway, as more people continue coming in, just amazingly, the safeties are better. You got Makuba that came in. Everybody's like, dude, Makuba's awesome. He's gonna start and like he can't even. The first time that I'd heard about him being like a clear starter was this week. And interestingly, Michael Taft, still wearing the green jersey, was the starter out there with Makuba, with Derek Williams, and as I mentioned, Jelani McDonald with the twos. And maybe we go back to how we started this show, where we talk about the 44 that Sark is looking to get to, right? The 44. Some of these guys are like, whether Derek Williams lines up with the ones or the twos during one practice, that guy's a starter, right? And if situationally they want to do something with Makuba and Taft, it doesn't matter. Derek Williams is still a starter, right? I think that's kind of what Sark's saying, and that's a really good position to sort of be in. And so you look at the secondary, and it was to what Homeboy said about I forgot his name. What was it, Waves Deep or something? He was just saying that I don't know. He was pestering Josh Pate, who has his show about this stuff, and he was saying that the defense, Pate or whatever, he was saying the defense couldn't be any better, and he's like, yeah, maybe they could. I think that his argument is that he cannot he cannot understand that despite the losses of Murphy and Sweat, that the secondary is going to be better. It's almost like, I hate to say how can they be worse, but it's kind of a how can they be worse than last year sort of situation. And it's not just that they're better players, and it's not just that they're older players with more seasoned players now, I should say. It's better players with another year of seasoning, and some of these guys are just now kind of ready to step up, right? But it's also, people were saying I'm crazy. I think Johnny Nansen has a lot to do with this, man. The communication between the linebackers and the safeties was bad last year. Nansen's made that a big thing, man, with his linebackers, man. You got to talk. You got to talk to these dudes. You got to communicate. So I think that that's another reason. And then I also just think the edge rush. You have Trey Moore. You have Colin Simmons. People talk about Barron Sorrell. I mean, Sark was asked about Barron Sorrell today. And who was it? It was Chip Brown. And he was saying that Barron Sorrell just looks so much different, right? And he does. If you walk up and stand next to him, he looks different. Physically, Barron Sorrell looks like a different player. Sark has said before, or no, Pete Kwiatkowski said before, as far as the edge rush, that unit, those edge guys, those ends, right? Sorrell's the leader of that group. It starts with Barron Sorrell. We've seen it, and we've seen that they mean it. It's not just it's not just empty words, right? I mean, they've taken Ethan Burke and moved him over there to that side, and they're playing Sorrell over Burke, right? Something had to happen to make room for Trey Moore, and that's sort of how they're doing it. So you have Sorrell, who he's talking today, is like one of the biggest leaders on the team. He looks different. Some of these guys, he's just said, "You media cockamamie idiots." You expect everybody to just come in and play, man. Like, he didn't say this, right? But it's like you can tell he's saying, like, what's wrong with you guys? Sometimes guys take a little while, so we fall into this trap of thinking that everybody's just gonna be ready to go. And whenever you get in those spots, you could overestimate what you think for a player that's kind of coming in and maybe doesn't go gangbusters right off the bat. And it's like, I'm not saying that the Sorrell's been bad, but he does look different now, right? And so you got Sorrell, you have Ethan Burke, and here's the thing. Here's the thing with those two guys, with those two players, that I said it earlier. Sometimes with these edge dudes, they do this maniacal dance all game long, man. And like Sorrell, he can hold up pretty well against the run and stuff. But what if you could just get him in the spots wherever he's most easy, where like he's best deployed? Why does he need to play 60% of the snaps whenever nobody else does? I don't think Sorrell needs to play 60, 65% of snaps like he did last season. He can be better with less snaps, right? So you have him, you have Burke, you have Colton Vosick behind them. Dude, speak it. Okay, so one of the things from the scrimmage, somebody told me that Colton Vosick going against the third team offensive line just isn't fair. He's like, this dude's, he said he had an awesome practice, but he said he was going against the third offensive line because, as we know, Colton Vosick right now is third on that. It goes Barron Sorrell, Ethan Burke, Colton Vosick. That's how that group goes. That's a salty 3 deep, right? Wasn't Vosick like a 5-star? I don't know. Cody probably know. Where's Cody, by the way? I think he just sent me a text. All right, so he's saying he's going to be joining here pretty soon. That's a salty 3 deeps, and that's just on one side. And then you look on the other side, you have Trey Moore, you have Justice Finkley, you have Colin Simmons, and then you have Sark today at the press conference saying, with Anthony Hill, you saw what we did with him last year and the ways we were multiple, because it was Joe Cook from inside Texas, and he was asking, like, how do you feel just about the defensive line, right? How do you is this something where you're getting after you've been in practice for now, whatever, since was that July 30th, July 31st? They've been in practice 2 weeks. Do you think this is something where, you're going to have to really kind of, I forgot the way that he said it, right? But are you going to really have to kind of buttress those front four with the linebackers and have the linebackers get their fits right and stuff? And they're like, and Sark's like, well, sometimes. Chad Gibson saying Vosick was a high 4-star. Okay, what is that? He's one of the guys that, I mean, people danced in the streets whenever Colton Vosick committed to Texas. 500 people in the chat. Goodness. Thank you guys so much. Please remember to like the show and subscribe to the channel. We certainly do appreciate that. We're trying to get to 20K, as SRone45 says. Like the video. Very, 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 very helpful. But he was like, no, like we're gonna have Anthony Hill, like we're gonna have him do all kinds of stuff. We're gonna bring him off the edge. We're gonna have him, do all this. And whenever I kind of add him in as an extra rusher, it's like all of a sudden, man, your defense, like you have a new strength. You have an edge rush, and that edge rush is gonna help the secondary and all the rest of it. Are you as good up the middle? No, but it's going to be different. I don't know if it's going to be better though, man. I'm not sure if Josh Pate's going to clown on you for that take at some point down the road here. I can promise you'll never get clowned on if you're wearing your Poncho gear. I'm telling you guys, like I was wearing my Poncho gear just yesterday, And I cannot believe how comfortable it is. I cannot believe how lightweight it is. I have a shirt just like the one Colt has here, but it's kind of like more of a. It's like I don't even know what shade it is. I think it's called the Bulldogger. You guys can look it up on there. Each shirt has its own name, but these Western shirts with the pearl snaps, they are the bomb, man. You can wear them to church. You can wear them to work. I'm sure. Well, I mean, you know your own guidelines at work better than I do, but you can wear them to like. I think that any work would let you wear these shirts. They are super, super nice, but they're also awesome for outdoor stuff, for fishing, for just going out to the ranch and filling up feeders and stuff like that. This is like, it's so lightweight. It's so breathable. They're very, very, very rugged and well made. They have lifetime warranties on them. They are incredible shirts, incredible products. Just go to Poncho Outdoors, man. Check them out. I can promise you that Poncho Outdoors is it's a company that you're not going to want to wear anything else. I know I certainly don't. So go ahead and check out Poncho Outdoors and look who's joining us. Cody, you can't put yourself up in a bigger thing. I don't know how to do it. You're always the one doing this. There you go. Where are you?
I'm home, brother.
Yeah, you look like you're home. So you flew up to Washington?
I quite literally this morning took a flight at 6:00 to DCA, which is Reagan Airport. Got in the car, drove out to Commander's Camp, drove back, flew back.
And you got home that fast after you landed and left how close are you to the airport?
12-minute drive.
Okay.
Had my wife sitting there ready to go like at a pit stop. She picked me up. Zoom. I said, we got to get home. I can't miss football with friends. I can't miss a whole episode. I can only miss a half episode.
Yeah.
We're here.
So I'm getting some texts right now. And look, since I got on air, this might have been something. But people are asking. I saw somebody in chat asking about it earlier about an injury in practice today. I would be surprised about that since it was a walkthrough, but I have not heard about it. I don't have any information about it. But I have gotten 2 texts. And so I'm not sure if there's if there was anything, we'll certainly have it at Orange Bloods pretty soon. I'm sure if I'm starting to hear this stuff, that's certainly Bonwar and Catcher hearing about it. So we'll have information there. Cody, I was just kind of going over some of the stuff from the practice this weekend and some of the other stuff that I kind of picked up from the press conference, and we'll get back to that stuff because you posted the title here about Wingo or Cook or whatever, who's the wide receiver 2 as far as the depth chart. I'm not sure if that was a conversation you wanted to have. We have a super chat from Chad Gibson for 199. Who on the D has the in-helmet communications? That's Anthony Hill, and I think is also Jalen Gilbo, because Jalen Gilbo has to go over there where Hill goes to go get his special helmet. So they don't walk into practice with helmets. They walk over to the special helmet area where I guess
I think they actually go over there and they have to pick up their helmet. They don't get that's got to be kind of a little. I mean, you remember back when you played, it was like your helmet was built exactly how you wanted. I mean,
I
think it's an visor age, so I had a visor on mine, but like it fits a certain way. You got this whole thing a certain way, and you just don't get to have your helmet in your locker.
Well, no, I think it's. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they're their helmets, but I think that since they have the in-ear comms and stuff in them, they probably stay with the trainers or things like that in case they got to mess with the wires or something.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying is like that. It's probably their helmet, but if they don't get to have it, like, you know what it's like to have your helmet at the locker with you, with your pads and stuff. It's like, well, if in the middle of the week, I'm just, putting it on, playing around with it, doing this, doing that. I don't know. Maybe it's different in college, but it's definitely different, I guess, when you get helmet communications on.
Yeah. I just know that Gilbo and Hill don't walk in there with helmets. So it's, I think it's, and we already know that it's Hill. I haven't heard specifically that it's Gilbo. Kwiatkowski said before that it would be linebackers and safeties. So I think it's Hill for sure. The person who told me that Hill was doing it. Oh, dude, look at that shirt from Poncho Outdoors.
My wife just brought this to me. She said I got mail.
I'm telling you, man, Poncho, dude. We need to like model them sometime, brother. Like they're great looking shirts. Man.
You think that's what the people want to see? They want to see us model.
Yeah, I think we're probably better at talking football than modeling all this stuff. Just a couple of all right. So a couple other things from the scrimmage. Just get you guys caught up. Maurice Blackwell got banged up in the scrimmage, but they think he's going to be fine. It was an arm/shoulder. He was pretty bruised up. He had a sling on at the barbecue afterwards at the bubble. The linebacker Darian Gillette got some run at running back. So Sark today was asked about if they were going to move anybody's position from any other positions to play running back. Darian Gillette did get, I think, like 4 carries in the scrimmage the other day. I'm not sure that he loves that. I'm not sure that he loves that. Chad Gibson asking whether one player on the same side of the ball can have no, only one player per 11 can have the green dot. Chad Gibson. But I'm saying, if there's something where Anthony Hill goes out, or maybe a game where they want Gilbo to have it, right? But it's going to be Anthony Hill, right? I think that seems pretty clear by now. They say he's the guy that's just never going to leave the field. Yeah, that's kind of that's kind of it for me. I mean, you guys heard about the running backs. Each of the young running backs fumbled the football. The Ty Anthony Smith really stood out to one guy who I talked to, which was kind of an interesting kind of pull to say that guy was a real standout to you.
That's big.
Johntay,
given the weight he gained, like that's a massive bump for next year with the prospects of potentially not getting Riley Pettijohn, who's committed to Ohio State. If Ty Anthony is going to be a guy that can step up and play in one of those roles, that's showing he's
going to need to play, dude, sooner than him and Gillette are both going to need to play, dude, real soon.
Yeah.
I mean, I think is Gillette going to have to play next year? I think he's probably like
Blackwell's gone, Benda's gone. That, according to your depth chart, that moves Gillette and Ty Anthony Smith up to the will linebacker at the top.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, those guys are gonna have to play. So it's kind of good to hear that Ty Anthony Smith looks good. I've never noticed too much of him at practice at all, but then again, I haven't got to see an hour and 15 minutes of just total scrimmage. God, what I would pay to be there for that. You know what I mean? Golly. Then that's kind of, you guys have heard a whole lot about the scrimmage and stuff. Silver Spur is asking what's going to win us the game, a 2-minute offense or 2-minute defense. I'd say the 2-minute offense. That thing goes really, really, really fast whenever you see that up and running. Cody, I want to talk about, I guess you had a plan to talk about the wide receivers and the depth chart stuff and all the rest of it. I can't believe creeping up towards 600 people in the Specs chat line. I want to say it again. We cannot thank you guys enough for continuing to tune in here on the new time, Football with Friends, 6:00 Central Time. We love doing it. We put a lot of time into the show. We want to make sure to not waste your time. We understand that your time is valuable. And so thank you for being here. We try and cram as much information in as we can and as little filler as possible. And it's you guys continue to come back and tell your friends is why we do it. Also, if we can get to 20K subscribers, that would make Catch real happy, and things are happier for all of us whenever Catch is happy around here. And whenever I need to get a little bit more happy, Cody, you know exactly where I go to. It's probably the store that I go to more than anywhere in the world, and they sponsor the Specs chat line. It is, of course, Specs.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right, Football with Friends, man, fun as hell. Cody, so you were saying, before we talk about that stuff, can you just give me a quick? So how did Jaden Daniels look today?
Dude,
yeah.
Jaden Daniels didn't get the longest practice today. They said they kind of wanted to use it more as like a ramp up tomorrow. Dan Quinn explained their practice type because they had the game this weekend. Today was more of a day. They just kind of want to get the feels out there, run around. Tomorrow's going to be a little heavier, back down on Wednesday for travel day. And then I think they have a game on Friday or something like this. But Daniels working with Jeff Driscoll and Marcus Mariota. Sam Hartman's hurt right now at the quarterback position. So we got to see quite a bit of those guys stayed on the one practice field where everybody else went over to the other practice field and stretched and did their own thing for 15 minutes. We just got pure quarterback doing drills. And I posted some clips up on Roster Watch. They didn't come out very clean because you don't get good internet access when you're out there in the woods. But I tell you what, man, first off, Mariota might lose the number 2 job to Jeff Driscoll. But Jaden Daniels it's weird because he doesn't have this, like, he doesn't have an abundance of aggression or high ego, or he doesn't have that thing where it's like, well, you can tell this guy is just going to cut your throat like a Tom Brady or a Mahomes or these guys like that, right? But he just goes out there, smooth, great communicator as a teammate, just rips it everywhere. Every drill that they had, he had the best ball coming out. I think I literally only saw maybe one ball that came out a little fluttery. Everything else was zing, 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 and it wasn't over powerful, like with Joe Milton stuff. It was just very crisp, very clean. He missed one ball in the team drill. He missed one ball rolling left against the grain, threw across his body to a deep crosser to Zach Ertz, and he put a little bit in front of him. But other than that, I mean, Daniels was fantastic. I don't know. He's going to be very special. And when Dan Quinn did his press conference before practice, he was talking about basically how they had like a number of boxes that they just wanted to check off with rookies. And they wanted to just kind of keep everything tight. We've heard this over the course of the last probably month about how they just don't want things to get out of the building. Like, oh, this guy's the next, greatest thing since sliced bread. Right. And it hasn't really gotten out of the building. It's been very quiet. This is why I was really excited to go up there. And he's like, yeah, he's just checking boxes off every single day as a teammate, as a player, everything. And I was mightily impressed with Jaden Daniels today.
All right. Well, you guys can hear our full breakdown of that stuff. If you want to, you can go to the Roster Watch show or listen to us on the radio on the weekends or whatever. But I mean, there's a lot of reasons from watching back to even just his limited action from this weekend, why it was like, he looks real. People are saying about the Cowboys and how they're going to be like, yeah, I think Jaden Daniels could have been a problem for the Cowboys and just for the NFC East in general.
That team's going to be okay. That Commander team. It's Cliff Kingsbury. I always forget Cliff Kingsbury's up there. I know that nobody wants to hear about Cliff Kingsbury because he was at a number of other schools, but yeah, out there with his joggers on and his oversized straw hat, like, yeah, it's gonna be a good team.
Kingsbury, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, so the wide receivers, the Texas wide receivers, it's on the thumbnail image. Wingo or Cook? What are we talking here?
Wingo or Cook? Who's the number 2? I want to know.
Because you're saying Bond's the number 1.
Yeah, we talked about that. Like, we established that last week. We're coming out of the scrimmage. I want to have this conversation with you. I want to know kind of where your head's at, because I've heard Ketch say he believes, I think it's pretty much chalk at this point, that it's Bond, DeAndre Moore, and Cook day one starters. You have that in your depth chart. Ketch came out and said that. I've thought this, but that one interesting piece in there is the fact that Wingo gets all the praise he's gotten. And I'm not asking you if Wingo's going to start on day one. What I'm asking you is like you said, Alien drops down from never been here before. Well, looks like Isaiah Bond's the alpha in this offense. Alien drops down. Who is the real number 2 wide receiver in this offense? Is it Ryan Wingo? Is Wingo surpassed Johntay Cook in just a few months? Or is Johntay that guy? Or is it DeAndre Moore?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think that Wingo's. So, I mean, it's going to be Johntay. I think. I mean, I don't know. It's like, who knows? But based on everything I've heard and everything I've seen, yeah, it's going to be like, if they go out there in 12 personnel, I think it's going to be Johntay and it's going to be Bond. If they go out there in 11 personnel, I think it's going to be Johntay, DeAndre Moore, and Bond. And what Sark was saying today, I was talking with our friends here in our 600 live friends here in the chat, and then I guess we'll be talking at some point in the future to all the other people that watch it later, which is a growing number of people that watch the show just afterwards and in the morning. And again, man, we cannot thank y'all enough. But what I was saying, Sark was saying, he's like, man, we don't. And this is it's kind of a lie, but he's saying we don't really have starters right now. We have, like, we look at if you're on the 2 deep, you're kind of a starter because you're gonna have to play. We got these 4 games before conference play, and then we got this extended season and all that. Like, you're gonna play. And I do think I think that's not true at like, left tackles, right? That's not true at edge rusher, and that's not true at middle linebacker, and that's not true at a lot of spots, right? I think at wide receiver, it's a little bit true. At nickel, it's kind of true. Somebody just asked in the chat, Naaman Roberts just asked, what position did Johntay Barron play most on Saturday? Naaman, if you want to hear me talk a lot about Johntay Barron and where he was at Saturday, you can listen back to the beginning of the show. But he was playing mainly outside corner. He was the first outside corner out there. But he'll also play nickel, right? He'll always so it's like, there's these dudes like Derek Williams was with the twos during the last scrimmage, and Makuba and Taft were with the ones. Does that mean that Derek Williams is a backup? No. So I'm not saying I think that Wingo's a backup or, I will say this. Wingo's the one guy that I've never seen or heard of being, I've never seen Isaiah Bond and Wingo work together. I've seen Isaiah Bond work with Golden. I've seen Isaiah Bond work with Cook. I've seen him work with Bolden. I haven't seen him work with Wingo. So I think Wingo's awesome. I think among all those wide receivers, he might have the highest upside of any of them. But I would say that, I think if you're talking about I think Bond is probably the wide receiver one, and I think if I have to choose one that I'm saying is the wide receiver two, because there honestly there has to be one. There has to be a dude that has the number two via target there and via like Sark can say there's no real starters. Well, I mean at some point there's gonna have to be starters. I mean there's a game like you need to start players. So I'd say I think it's Cook, man. I think it's Cook for now for sure. Did you get to hear any of Sark's press conference? I guess probably not.
I wanted to jump on that Zoom, but I couldn't. I was at the airport trying to get on a flight, so I didn't. I literally have Jason's notes up here, and that's about it. So I've just hardly skimmed through it. I Control F'd and I typed in every single one of the receivers' last names, and none of them popped up. So thought that was interesting, just off the cuff. I literally haven't read more than a couple of words on this whole thing, so I'm on the loop completely. Did you tap in for this Zoom press conference?
Yeah. I was a little bit late. I had to read. I didn't know my log. It's been so long since I had listened to one of those. I forgot my login and stuff, so I got in a little bit late. But better late than never. I think
biggest takeaway.
Well, they're trying out two running backs he's like, I think the running back stuff is and look, it goes along with what's happening in the chat. People are talking, throwing around names for players that might have got injured at practice. I find it so weird that like it was a walkthrough. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Look, you guys, this is something that where I'm just like I've gotten texts about this too during the show, but it's not my job. It's not my place to say this stuff until Onwar can kind of vet it. And so if you guys can just keep your eyes on Orange Bloods about it, it feels like there might be, kind of seems like there might be something up here a little bit, but I don't. It's just it goes against the order of operations with how things get reported for me to kind of bring up anything that I'm hearing right now. So, but yeah, you guys could be onto something here. But if there were anything like that, then obviously this makes it. He just said about the running backs. He said, man, Gibson and Clark, they both put the ball on the ground in the game. They did some nice things. He said, I love what I saw to Jaden Blue and Trey Wisner. But he was like, somebody asked me, you can try out guys from other positions at running back. He's like, yeah. He said, we're going to, a couple guys and then, one guy on defense. And then he stopped himself and he said, actually two on defense. And he said, but it's going to take some time to, we not only have to, and this is the deal where he has to deal with their coaches on defense, right?
Yeah.
A lot of time their coaches are gonna be like, no.
Don't be taking him out of my room. Then my room.
You're not taking him out of my room, son. So ultimately, of course, Sark is going to be the one that has the final say with that stuff. But if they are starting to get thin, look, one of the
They have to
players
go
on
to
defense.
JUCO. They have to go to JUCO pool.
Well, I mean, dude, and Sark today was talking about the they were asking him if any walk-ons look good and stuff, and he was just like, actually, the running back, Colin Page, and is Colin Page number 31? Do you know if that's who he is? Is that
No,
30?
because you said that the other day, and then I went on the roster, and there's like only 1 or 2 players entirely with a number inside the 30s. Colin Page is 27.
Okay, but is
6
31
foot,
not?
210.
Let me see who 31 is. Hold on. Because I've
There's
always
like a 31 and a 39. I think that's it.
31 is Nick Sanders from Waco
go.
University. Yeah.
That's the old baseball player.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good looking player. But so like they're trying, I don't know who the other guy on defense is. I don't think it's Ty Anthony Smith, because the person that,
I don't think you can. I brought that up last week, but I don't think you can actually move Ty Anthony. Not with the weight he's gained, not with the camp he's had. I just don't.
Yeah. So, but that was what kind of stuck out to me, man. It's just, issues with the running backs. It looks like Trey Wisner is for sure your surefire 1B at this point. And whether or not that's completely optimal going into the season, I'm not sure. I think in the end, what this really means is just a whole lot. Jaden Blue's going to have a whole lot on his plate. And so, yeah, we're just going to kind of have to keep an eye on it there. And but I will say this. I don't think that Darian Gallette's going to stick it. I don't think that Darian Gallette's going to stick it at running back. I just think there's a lot of reasons why, but I get the feeling that thing's not going to really work out too well. So yeah, we'll have to see, but it feels like they're in a little bit of a pickle right now for sure with all of that. Cody, any final thoughts you have for the people before we get out of here?
It's going to be another good week, Alex. This is week 3 of Football with Friends being back. We're just a few weeks away from the Colorado State game happening. I'm excited to potentially do a little live show at Texas Beat Trader. So just, I don't know if we're going to do it or not, but we might do something.
Dude, Darren says, please come do it. He'll cook the whole time and stuff. People can come in and watch, get some free food and free beers and this stuff. It'll be fun. We just need to make sure that the internet is fast enough.
I wonder if anybody in the good old chat, almost 600 people here. I think we have 600 likes. I'll have to go back and check after the show, but I wonder if any of these people would like to stop on down there for a little live show. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, man. Well, we certainly appreciate you guys, whether you would come into Texas Beef Traders for a live show or not. The fact that you're here right now, 600 of y'all just concurrently watching live is just nuts. And we know a bunch more people are going to watch it later. So hopefully we don't sully up your TVs too bad. And hopefully we've brought you some information here. As always, we respect your time. We cannot thank you enough for giving us a little bit of your time. So thank you guys so much. Go out tonight. Go do something big, okay? For Cody,